Dispute over the location of the Packers Heritage Trail Plaza is reaching a courtroom.
Packers Heritage Trail Foundation, affiliated with the Packers and the Packers Hall of Fame, files a legal action now against the city of Green Bay over plans to move the downtown plaza for luxury apartments. Brittany Schmidt explains how the dispute ended up in front of a Brown County judge.
Friday at 11:30 in the morning, the city of Green Bay is ordered by a Brown County judge to appear here in court for a hearing regarding a temporary injunction to keep the plaza where it's at for now. It's located on the northeast corner of North Washington and Cherry Streets in Green Bay. The Bronze Plaza has been there for more than a decade and is part of the Packers Heritage Trail, a free tour throughout Green Bay and a pier highlighting the Packers' rich history in the area. According to court documents, Clifford Crystal, the founder of what is now known as the Packers Heritage Inc., said city leaders picked the location of the downtown landmark and it was implied this would be something permanent. Since its creation, Packers Heritage Inc. has maintained the plaza on its own dime. Well, fast forward to this year when the foundation learns of the city's plans to possibly move the plaza for a new development by Nova North, which would construct 268 apartment units and 5,000 square feet of restaurant space at the ground level. The attorney representing the foundation sent a letter in mid-September to Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich, objecting to the plans to move the plaza and warned them of potential legal action. A response from the city's law office says in part they'd like the foundation to help pick a new spot, but if they continue to object, the city will remove the Heritage Trail Plaza, place the statues in storage, and bill them for it. In that letter, the city says the plaza must be relocated no later than this week, which is likely why Packers Heritage Inc. is now asking the courts to impose a temporary injunction until all parties agree on a resolution. In previous reports, the city has told us they plan to break ground on the apartment development sometime between now and December. Reporting in Green Bay, Brittany Schmidt, Action 2 News.